Hi again, everybody. I'm Zaid. This is the bookshelf, and this is Bare Bones Reviews number 3. For this review, I'm bringing out one of my motivating sets for having pledged for Reaper Bones 2 in the first place, and that would be Dungeon Decor. In this case, we're looking at Dungeon Decor number 1 and 2 from the Reaper Bones miniature. Now, Dungeon Decor number 1 would be the set currently on the left side of your screen. And Reaper Bones add-on, Dungeon Decor 2, was an option available on the same Kickstarter as a plus 10 add-on. So judging by the patterns that are inherent to a Bones Kickstarter, that means that each of these little micro sets retailed for about 10, and maybe you could argue that the cost for the Decor number 1 option was 5, seeing as they're less in number and smaller, but let's argue the debates about value once we get final MSRP up on the board. For now, let's judge the miniatures on their own rights. Now, let's start with the right. We have, in the first set, a few things to put front and center. First item we got is this nice little set of household items. We have little bags, sacks, all on a regular looking base background. Let me bring that up so the detail shows pretty well. You have about 6 of them. Detail is pretty good. Depending on how you choose to paint the basing section, you could make it look like it's on a sack of gold, maybe. A bed of grass, hay, earth, whatever you want to paint that as. Pretty nice and detailed. The second one is unique. I've not seen this in a while, and that would be jars and pots. Bring up for close in, no point rotating this one. We have a large vase, 2-handled, large pot, something that looks kind of like an urn, and an open cup. This one is a little bit unusual because of the basing. Set them up on top of a shelf, for example, but having the extra little section on the bottom here could be awkward. Still, if you want to, you can probably just clip them off, remove the basing, and you have a nice little set of accessories for your spice rack or whatever. Now, we also have the pretty standard stuff that's always available in most terrain packs. That is barrels, this time 2 sizes, one large, one small. Detail added when you paint into it, obviously. Mostly just wooden siding. The top and the bottom are both equally made with detail. They don't have a base on these per se, so you can model them into whatever you want, or just leave them as background accessories for something else, toss them into a wheelbarrow, whatever. And of course, standard packaging crates. No basing on these either, so every side has its own appearance. Some have cross beams, some are just flat lines like these. The detail shows up well. Standard shipping fare. Now, Dungeon Decor has 2 unique, interesting things, which are not as generic as all of that, and that would be the Pillar of Light and the Pillar of Darkness. Let's start with Darkness. Darkness is unusual. It is a 3-faced pillar with a spiked, kind of Sauron-ish thing on the top. Lord of the Rings fans would recognize the idea of Mordor. Now, the height is a bit taller than your average miniature, but the shape of the upper spire makes it a bit unusual. You could incorporate it into basic background decoration, or if you want to, you can use some modeling clay or green stuff, add some section to the top, and basically make it a pillar for an actual room. So it's not just decoration, it's just an actual support pillar or column. The pillar of light depicts a female angel, I suppose, with wings and a sword along her front. Unlike the pillar of darkness, this one is two-sided only, so you have either a sideway view or front. With the exception of little gaffs, the two angels are identical. If you want, you can kind of get a two-face thing going on where you damage one and leave the other intact. Sky's the limit for your interpretation. Now, the Dungeons Decor Set 1 is a little unusual. It's probably not going to be sold at that combination when it hits retail, primarily because I don't see people needing that many pillars. A lot of people choose, you can probably have a good excuse to buy a large variety of crates and barrels, pots, and bags, but not the pillars. So we'll see how that breaks down when the series becomes available to the public in the future. Dungeon Decor 2 now. Let's get my least favorite sections out of it. This section is almost as polarizing as Dungeon Decor 1 in that it is two sets of decoration styles in one. What I mean by that is, half of it are household items and the other half are these type of scenery, I guess would be the word for it. The pillars have, or stalks, stalactites, stalagmites, mushrooms, crystal formations, fuzzy bogs, I don't know what you can make these out to be, but you get three of them. The large one has four, the smaller one has two. This one can easily be a stalactite or stalagmite, depending on which direction you put it on. I don't know which is which, actually. Tight goes up, mag goes down. No real point to it. You're not going to have something dripping down. Who makes gaming scenery with ceilings? That said, though, if you're going to make a diorama, that works definitely. Definitely that can work. And the last single one. Caverns are not something I play with often, and I don't really like designing them for dioramas or for my preferred scenery choices. I don't actually like having people fighting in caves. I don't know, it's just not my thing for role-playing. But, you know, if you go for your standard dragon horde situation or animal creatures, something underground, you'll have good excuses for them. I'm much more interested in the household paraphernalia. Now, the first one is a table, pretty nice one. It's quite a bit crooked, which I can't tell if it's intentional or not. Heat it up with water, you'll be able to fix that. I do like the shape of the table legs, though. It's a nice functional design. Grain on the top, so it doesn't catch the light and shadow in the right way so you can see that. And what's very appreciated are these sort of pewish style benches. Proportionately, you could argue that they're the right size for one man, maybe two. Scaling to your miniatures, they're small benches, probably just fit one person if they could sit down, if you have any seated miniatures. But they're very nicely done, good to scale. You only get two of them, so if you want to do something other than two guys playing chess or sharing a meal together, like a full-on table, you'll have to get spares. The bed is the next one. Incorporated blanket with a pillow. There's no side tucking, so it's sort of like it's in the mattress pad. Very thin mattress. 4-post bed. Pallets. This is a nice little detail. If you toss it over, you can see there are springboards, or whatever you want to call those, on the bottom of the mattress. So if you have a battle scene and you have it flipped over, you can sort of have like a barricade. The bedposts are pointed, and you'll have to probably do things like modify them, glue them, cut them off, apply green stuff. But if you get multiples, I imagine that you can very easily stack them to make some bunk beds, so that's a nice option. The last item is my favorite of the list, and it is this handsome looking bookshelf. Bookshelf combination cabinets. The piece is fairly thin, but it's the proper thickness for books for practically any scenario, any miniature scales. You can probably fit it in between anything from 15 to 30 millimeter miniatures. Compact scale works. The books are a little elevated on some parts, like this one right here. You can see there's a bit of a gap. I can't really say why books would be levitated almost. But for the most part, as you can see, you have quite a number of volumes. Well over 40 books, I think, if you were to count each one individually. A few stacked, a few falling over. I think it's a great piece. It makes for a lot of personality and would fit in practically any miniatures or even basic toys that you would want to have people that have a library for your characters. Okay, Dungeon Decor. Pretty nice, generic stuff. I don't know what they're going to be releasing with them. They're not on the Bone site yet. But I'm looking forward to seeing more from them in the future. I have a nice set of terrain, and if, at these prices, at this material, it'd be pretty easy to get them in bulk quantity to make some decent dioramas and other types of things like that. All in all, very satisfied with the purchase. I'm Zaid. Thanks for watching.